Welcome back to the True Geordie YouTube channel. Today we are on the Diddy case. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I've given it a while just to really gather my thoughts on this case because obviously I think Diddy is a piece of crap. But the longer this case goes on and the more you think about what they're accusing him of, the sentence that he could get, 25 to life, yeah, this is serious. The more conflicted I feel about it. Because Diddy isn't on trial here for being a piece of crap. If that was the case, lock him up and throw away the key, right? He is. But the more we comb through the details, the weaker the government case looks to me. But before I talk about any of this, we've got to talk about the fact that Donald Trump is now involved. As if this couldn't get any more mental. The Trumpmeister said from the White House that he would look at the facts and may consider pardoning Diddy if he felt he was mistreated. And Diddy and Trump know each other, right? This is from years and years ago. There's plenty of pictures of Trump and Diddy spending time together here. We got loads. And as much as I'm iffy about this case, Donald Trump should be nowhere near this case. Because if you do pardon him, you're still pardoning a piece of shit, right? Even if he shouldn't really be getting done for this or whatever you might want to say. You're the president. You've already gotten involved with Andrew Tate, allegedly. And some of you might not remember, Tate was obviously on house arrest in Romania. It was the Trump administration that interfered with that situation, which then got Tate out of Romania and allowed him to then go and explore other countries, including Florida, where he was alleged to have attacked another woman. So Trump's track record ain't that great on this sort of thing. If you're one of Trump's advisors, just stop, right? Just tell him, shut up. Stop talking. We do not need this kind of publicity right now. Now, luckily, there's always a guy that you can rely on to save the day at a time like this, and that guy is 50 Cent. Rapper 50 Cent said that he will reach out to Trump to discourage any possibility of a Diddy pardon. This man is one of the most dedicated haters of all time. We do have to admire his skill, not only on the mic, but just to destroy motherfuckers. He even posted a clip of Diddy bad-mouthing Trump on his Instagram.
White men like Trump need to be banished.
Well, I guess that's a no on the pardon then, because if you don't want him around, you certainly don't want a pardon from him. Now, back to the case, because I have hung back. I didn't want to make a video every single day, just milking the trial, because it gets long. I want to wait until I've actually got something to say to you lot. And I was specifically waiting for all this crime boss stuff to come out, where, you know, Diddy was running a Jeffrey Epstein operation, where apparently he was videotaping celebrities having sex with underage girls, and that he was blackmailing them with it. I was waiting for all of that stuff. It's not coming. For whatever reason, either it didn't exist in the first place and it was all hyped up to get us all thinking that Diddy was the most evil piece of shit we've ever heard of, which, I mean, he's still evil, but it's just the levels. Epstein, up here. Diddy, I don't know what he is, but he's not Jeffrey Epstein, which is what he was made out to be by the looks of it. He's a dirty bastard who's violent to women and loves drugs, but that isn't what he's on trial for here. The things he's on trial for are sex trafficking, which means he's coerced women into sex acts by force, threats, or manipulation. Well, for me, up to now, you know, when we look at what Cassie said, I'm sorry, but there's far too much doubt being put in the minds of the jury on Cassie's enthusiasm to get involved in the freak-offs for you to say to me, unequivocally, that she was forced into doing any of that. So sex trafficking, I'm not having it. So far, there's not enough data to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. The next one was transportation to engage in prostitution, which I think he's caught red-handed here, let's be real. He's had more prostitutes than I've had protein shakes. But equally, why the fuck is that even a part of this? Because, like, two consenting adults having sex for money, I mean, it's a tale as old as time, in the words of Beauty and the Beast. It's the oldest job there is. And why is that a problem? I think it's ridiculous. But the real thing that they've tried to bring him down on, and this is the key to the whole case, this is how they really fucked Diddy, it's the racketeering conspiracy, which is what they refer to as RICO. And this is specific to him using his company, Bad Boy Records, to be involved in the crimes of coercing women into doing the freak-offs while threatening them, etc., etc. Again, Cassie and Diddy were both using each other for sex and money. It is as clear as fucking day at this point. Yes, the employees would get baby oil and lube and clean up the hotel afterwards. There's no crime without the fact of coercion there. And remember, without the coercion and the criminal element of it, it shouldn't fucking matter if Diddy's employees went and fucking cleaned the hotel room after or got the lube and the fucking baby oil. Like, I don't give a shit. We're talking about jailing a man for the rest of his life, you know. It's going to need to be a bit more solid than that for me, like. As much as I think he should be in jail for some things, this isn't enough. Oh, he got staff to collect drugs for him. So what, man? If that's the case, I should probably be locked up. Fucking hell. Now, I did see a good clip from Sammy the Bull Gravano, who's actually been involved in these RICO cases on the receiving end in the mafia. And he explains why specifically they've gone for RICO on Diddy.
They're charging him with the RICO for this reason. The government is just as disgusting as he is. The RICO is meant to take his money and properties and everything. That's what the fuck they're looking at. That's why they put in RICO. RICO does not belong in this case. They developed the RICO for the mafia, Italian people, to go after the Italian people. And it's a corrupt organization. I know what the RICO law stands for. He don't have a corrupt organization. It's him. RICO has a statute like for the mafia. There's a boss, an underboss, a consigliere, captains, maid guys. This whole organization goes out and commits crimes, murder and all kinds of crimes. And it's an organization, but it was an easier law for them to win cases, number one, and for them to confiscate the money. So to them, part of that thinking with the RICO is about money. Not just to find you guilty. They want to go after you, find you guilty, and then they want to pound their chest. They want his hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, whatever he has. They want that money. And if they lose this case, they lost it because of their own greed. RICO does not belong in this case as far as I'm concerned.
And as he says, RICO was brought about to bring down the mafia, to take all the money from the organization and to show the connections so that it wasn't just trialing individuals, but showed how they worked as a collective. That's not happened. This is all about Diddy himself wanting to have pleasure. He's not, directing a load of underlings to go and commit crimes for him in order to make him more money and all of this nonsense. Like, none of that is really going on, in my opinion. Yeah, they collected some drugs, they cleaned up some hotel rooms. So fucking what, man? The main thing that Diddy is guilty of within all of this is clearly domestic violence, where he's beaten the crap out of Cassie, and he's an absolute piece of shit for that, and he deserves to go to jail for that, 100%. But when you look into how long people get for that in America, it's what, a year? If you're lucky, could be even less. And you certainly don't lose all your fucking money. So when Sammy the Bull is saying they put something in this case that doesn't really belong there so that they can get all of his fucking hundreds and hundreds of millions from him, when you look at what it usually would be used on, it doesn't really fit. And if they do get all of that money because they got him on a technicality, because technically people who worked for him were kind of committing crimes, even though it's meaningless, petty, nothing crimes, the money would go to law enforcement and government budgets, victim compensation, which means anyone who takes the stand and claims to be a victim has all the more reason to lay it on as thick as possible because you want to get the payout as well. And then community programs and the courts would also benefit from it. So everyone's winning at Diddy's demise here. And you do wonder why. Why is this coming about? And one reason possibly why this may be happening to Diddy right now, because Diddy's been a piece of shit for years, let's be real, the police didn't care. It could be because of a huge legal dispute that Diddy had with one of the most powerful companies in the world. You'll all remember that Diddy had a vodka brand called Ciroc, which was worth about $450 million. He also had a tequila brand as well that was being started with the same company that he launched the vodka brand, which was Diageo. So Diageo are the big partners behind the launch of his vodka brand. Now, Diageo apparently are worth about $80 billion. However, the companies that own Diageo, you may have heard of them before if you watch any conspiracy documentaries, BlackRock and Vanguard, who are two of the world's largest asset management companies, worth in the region of a combined $22 trillion. They own everything. Their tentacles are all over our society. So Diddy was pissed off at Diageo because he felt that his alcohol brands weren't getting enough investment, enough love from Diageo. He claimed that they typecast his brands as urban and didn't provide enough resources, and instead were putting more money into other celebrity brands that they partnered with. Now, he said that this was due to racial discrimination from Diageo, and he publicly went after them in court. Diageo says, whoa, this isn't about racism. This is about a business dispute where we have invested, in the tequila brand specifically, $100 million, and Diddy had only invested $1,000, which also really rings true with the way Diddy is, because he's known to treat people he works with terribly. Now, they settled out of court, and Diddy sold Ciroc and the tequila brand to Diageo, and he got paid in full. But remember, you fuck around with the wrong people and you will find out. We all know about this. And this was a world level fuck around and find out, because you fuck with a company that is co-owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. And mysteriously, not long after this settlement was when all of this shit started. And as much as there's no proof that this is a direct result of what he did in that scenario, you look at the fact that they're coming after every single penny he's got and they're wanting to destroy him. And you look at what he's actually done, it does feel like it's possible that there is a connection there, especially when you think that he accused a global brand like Diageo of being racist. Like, we know what that can do to a brand. They would never have taken that lightly. And as much as I think that this case is very iffy, I kind of don't have any sympathy for him anyway, because he's been bringing shit like this on himself for years, and he is a piece of crap. So part of me is just like, well, fair dues, really. You deserve it. But let's take a look at what's been happening in the case since I last did a video. And now, a word from our sponsors. If you're looking to book a holiday away in the sunshine this summer, then this could save you a lot of money. Saily is a brand new eSIM app. And what it does is it basically gives you a local SIM card that you can use when you're traveling, so you don't have to pay those crazy roaming fees just to send a text back home. And they've got eSIM plans in over 160 countries and 8 regions, so pretty much wherever you're going to be, they'll make sure you're connected. All you've got to do is click the link in the description, download the app, which works on iOS or Android, buy your plan, you can choose the amount of data and time that suits whatever you need best, and then install the eSIM on your phone. And when you land at your destination, you can activate your plan instantly. And the beauty about it is you only have to download this once, and whenever you go anywhere different, you can literally just buy a different plan for that destination, and boom, you're back watching me. And what I really liked about using this last time I went away to America is the eSIM was actually faster than the hotel Wi-Fi I had, and I got an unlimited plan that I could just scroll as much as I wanted, and I wasn't worrying about, am I using up too much data? So if you want to get connected when you're away, click the link in the description below, go to saily.com/Geordie and use the code Geordie, all block capitals, all one word, and you can get 15% off your first purchase. Big thanks to Saily for keeping us connected, but for now, enjoy the video. Kid Cudi took the stand and he verified that, to his knowledge, Cassie and Diddy were over by the time he started having anything to do with Cassie. He said that she and Diddy had some problems and they weren't dating anymore. And we already know that she was still fucking Diddy the whole time, still going for freak-offs the whole time, coming back and kissing Cudi with that same mouth that had been doing all of that shit. The one that's full of viruses and everything that they made out of earlier in the court. She didn't give a fuck when she was passing it back to Cudi. He didn't give two shits. But he won't be a victim, will he? Because he's a man, right? It doesn't work that way, does it? I forgot about that. Yeah. Now, obviously, Diddy got word of this. He went to Cudi's house. He got the address from Cassie, lo and behold. And when he arrived, it seems like the door was unlocked because a dog sitter had gone out or something like that, and they just left the door open. And they asked Cudi, like, when you got back home, what had happened? Like, what had Diddy done to the house? He said some gifts were open. It was Christmas. So he's the Grinch, basically. He's literally just having a look at what you got. Some stuff I got from Chanel. And my dog was locked in the bathroom. Now, this dog has caused a bit of a stir online because, look, we're all dog lovers. But, I watch people's reactions, and one person really went into detail about how traumatic this being locked in the bathroom was for the dog.
And then he found his dog Luna was locked in a bathroom. Kid Cudi described Luna as a 25-pound French bulldog and as my shadow always by my side, but found her whimpering and cowering in the corner, surrounded by shredded toilet paper and with her little bowl of water tipped over.
Oh, her water's tipped over. How will she recover? It's just such strange details that they put out here. I love it.
He said that there were claw marks on the bathroom door, and it showed how she had tried to escape.
Just to be clear, this isn't Silence of the Lambs where you see previous victims' fingernails in the brickwork. Like, a dog sometimes, if they don't want to be in a room, will claw at a door trying to escape. The room wasn't on fire.
Luna, she was visibly shaken. And at a January 2012 vet record, they entered into evidence. It noted that she had anxiety and weight loss, guys. They were not able to ever figure out what happened to his dog because he never locked his dog away. She could be all over the house. So when she was in there, clearly traumatized, she didn't tear up stuff either. So the toilet paper was probably like a trauma response.
I just couldn't help it. I just had to take it out on the toilet roll. What do you want from me? I'm a dog, for Christ's sake. Trauma response is becoming the most overused word in the history of the world. Whenever anyone wants to, justify behavior and not take any accountability, well, it was a trauma response. What do you want from me? It was a trauma response. Sometimes dogs just play with toilet roll. There's literally adverts in the UK, the Andrex puppy, where it rolls around with toilet roll. Like, it's a thing. I'm just saying it might not have been a trauma response. Who do I care if the fucking dog's guilty of attacking a toilet roll? I don't care, but this is mental right now.
When he was examined by the vet, the dog was still having deep anxiety and shaking and scared.
I find CBD helps. I like dogs, all right? It's just mental that we're talking in depth about a dog having anxiety from having an incident with P. Diddy, for Christ's sakes.
It completely changed the psyche of his dog. I am trying to figure out, what could one interaction with somebody that comes to your house one time, what they could do to your dog that was so horrific that the dog was left permanently scarred and having trauma. Guys, I can go to a lot of places because when I want you to think about, the dog didn't have any visible scars. He didn't have any broken bones. What did the diddler do to this little dog, this little girl dog that you can think of? I don't want to go there.
Well, we might as well go there. I think what you're accusing Diddy of doing is fucking the dog. This little girl dog, yeah. I know where you go with that. It's got a vagina. That's what you're pointing out. And you're trying to put that in my head. Do I need to be thinking about P. Diddy shagging a dog when I go to sleep at night? I don't want to, but now because of you, we're going to.
Seriously, bumps dogs.
Just to be clear, there were no signs of any physical harm on the dog. He could have just hide it in the bathroom and it just freaked out because it wasn't friendly or whatever. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Who knows? Or he could have shagged it. Here are images from what happened a month later after the Christmas dog attack. Kid Cudi's car where basically the firebombed it. Actually, surprisingly, not that bad of a result, really. I thought it would have looked worse than this. Ironically, it was his dog's babysitter again who told him that his car was on fire. This dog's babysitter always goes missing at the right time. That's my prime suspect. Now, do I think Diddy had something to do with Kid Cudi's car getting set on fire a month later after Diddy helped himself into some Christmas presents? Absolutely, I do. That was Diddy's way of warning Kid Cudi away from his woman, in his mind. But legally, it never went anywhere. The police didn't follow it up. They were like, nah, there's nothing we can do. There's no proof of anything here, really. We can't say that for sure that it's Diddy or anyone like that. And they just gave up on it. And that matters in this. That really matters in this, because if you had a conviction, you could say directly, Diddy did that. That's legally proven. We can't prove any of this. So Kid Cudi went to meet Diddy after this at a Soho house to chat things over. Apparently when he turned up, Diddy was stood looking out the window with his hands behind his back like a Marvel supervillain. Diddy apparently said to him, we were homies, you know that's my girl. And Cudi apparently replied, what about my car? He said, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, apparently, a few years later, they bumped into each other again at Soho House, and Diddy said, I'm sorry for all that bullshit, which surprised Cudi, and he said, actually, that let him find peace with the whole situation. Now, at this point, we actually find out from the cross-examination from Diddy's lawyers that the DNA taken actually came back being female, which begs the question, who the fuck did this? And we'll never know for reasons I'll get onto in a bit. Now, Diddy's lawyers characterized the relationship that Diddy and Cudi both had with Cassie as one where both men were being played, and Kid Cudi agrees and he says true, and they ask him who was it who was playing both men. He said Cassie, and Cudi says that she was living two different lives between the two guys. She even had multiple phones to make sure she didn't get caught. Now, for someone who's been framed as someone who doesn't have the choice in anything she does and is not accountable for any single action she fucking takes, I just think that this is outrageous, to be honest with you. This alone shows that Cassie romantically was operating however the fuck she wanted to, and it was all her decision. Diddy's lawyer says she played you and you had no clue. He replies, no clue. And remember, she was doing all those freak-offs, all those diseases that she was complaining about earlier, and she was going and kissing him on the fucking mouth straight afterwards. Not a problem. Kid Cudi is a bit of a victim here, actually, if we're being brutally honest. They asked Cudi about the abuse that Cassie was allegedly suffering from Diddy. She told you she was abused? Yes. But she never said she was sexually abused. True, she did not. You loved her? Tell me if I'm wrong. I did. I think it's interesting that if she was going through what she was going through and she was saying what a bad guy Diddy was, that she would leave out the fact that she was a victim of sexual abuse also. If that's true, and you're, being forced to do all of this against your will, why wouldn't you also tell him about that? Some might say it's because of shame. Some might say it's because she was up for it and she didn't want him to know that she was into all of this shit because she was still doing it while she was with him. Now, this lady is Capricorn Clark, who worked for Diddy for a long time. She actually played a part in this whole Cuddy situation, and she was actually with Diddy the day he went to Cuddy's house. She said that the day Diddy went over to Cuddy's, he was enraged, he was armed, and he wanted to confront Cuddy over his relationship with Cassie. So she was sat in the car outside with Diddy. Diddy went in, she watched him go in. Then while he was in, she called Cassie on her burner phone, the one that she's using to fucking get with Kid Cudi. She tells Cassie Diddy's in the house. So Diddy gets in the car. She says, then I saw Cuddy driving up. Diddy saw her face and acknowledged what she'd seen. We drove off and saw the police driving the other way towards Cuddy's. Diddy was pulling himself together. We stopped at the Key Club and he told me to call Cassie. What did you tell Cassie? That he had me and he wouldn't let me go. The idea being that he was holding this girl who was friends with Cassie, I guess, hostage, saying, you better fucking come or I'm not letting her go. Cassie responds, okay, come get me. She was calm. So Diddy tells her to convince Cuddy not to say that it had been him at the house. She picked up Cassie. We went to Cuddy's to try and convince him not to file a police report. They asked the girl, what did you tell them that Diddy had said? She said, if you tell on him, he'll hurt us all. Which is threats of violence. It sounds gangster, but it's not really. What do? He opened some fucking presents. It's pushing it a little bit further to that criminal element that they're trying to get Diddy on. Now, after all of this had happened, Cassie obviously had to go and answer to Diddy. And at that point, as usual, Diddy got violent. He was kicking her again and again. Cassie was in the fetal position. Diddy kicked her all the way to the street. She was crying silently. Where was he kicking her? Her back, her backside. Where were you? 5 feet away. What did you do? What did Diddy do to you? He said, if you jump in, I'm going to fuck you up too. She actually called Cassie's mother because she basically felt like she wasn't in a position to call the police. And I told her, he's kicking the shit out of your daughter. I can't call the police, but you can. Why didn't you call the police? The mission of the day was to get Cuddy, so no calling the police. The mission of the day, I do wonder how much these people have been taught by the police how to frame things. You're a human being. You have to uphold the law as much as any of us do. This idea that you had no choice and no ability to call the police, I just don't buy it. Diddy didn't even pay any of these people well. You could have easily called the police. You don't get off scot-free because you were frightened or whatever. I'm not having it. I just think if you're witnessing this level of shit and you do nothing, then you're also part of the problem here. And you'd think, right, the guy kidnapped you and, you're seeing this level of violence, you'd at least quit your job. If someone even is inappropriate with you in the workplace, you quit your job, let alone kidnapping. They asked her, the defense were like, did you keep working with them? Yeah. Must have been a trauma response. And ironically, he fired her because she didn't tell Diddy about Cassie's relationship with Kid Cudi. You should have fucking told me. You were supposed to work for me. What are you looking after her for? Now, this woman, despite what she's saying about Diddy and painting him out to be the worst person in the world, which he is a piece of shit, I'm not disputing that, but she sent emails to him after the fact, and not just immediately, but also years later, begging forgiveness, apologizing to Diddy. And then she resumed working with him in 2016, like 4 years after this happened. And when she was sending these emails, she was also like slagging Cassie off, saying she wasn't a real friend. So like, it's really hard to know how, when you're contradicting yourself in your own words later about what a monster Diddy is, when you're saying to him, I'd love to come work with you again, and I'm sorry, I want to be your friend again. It just really fucking taints your whole fucking statement. And this lady, Capricorn Clark, is one of the people who also filed a lawsuit against Diddy, and they asked her, when did you get a lawyer? She said, I was traumatized by Cassie's civil complaint. So when it was happening, you said nothing. You then apologized to Diddy for not being on his side more. You then begged him for forgiveness. You then went and worked for him again. And then later on, when you read that Cassie's getting a payout, then you get a lawyer. Just doesn't sound great in that order, does it? Because it's not. She's a piece of shit herself, this woman. Because she didn't act in the right way the whole fucking time. She acted for what was best for her, like a lot of these people have. It's a lot of using. Diddy's using them, but they're also using Diddy. They even read some of her emails out to Diddy. One day you'll forgive me. Anyway, be well, kiss, kiss. Another one. Your grace period to be mad at me has surpassed the agreed time, lol. This girl's a fraud. When your statements at the time are so far away from your statements now, it just taints any believability that you have. Now, next on the stand was the FBI arson investigator, and he was asked, the DNA profile, was it consistent with a female contributor? He replies, I was told that. On the evidence, they ask him, what happened to the print cards? He said, they were destroyed in 2012. On whose orders? He replies, someone in LAPD. Not you or anyone on your team. This is where Diddy's lawyers are like, what the fuck? Like, you're basically intimating that Diddy may have had something to do with the evidence being destroyed here. And that is going to massively taint the way the jury view Diddy. Diddy's lawyers then said, we are going to move for a mistrial at this time based on prosecutorial misconduct that has occurred. Some prospective jurors said Diddy could buy his way out of the trouble that he's in. This type of conspiracy is out there, and this bought into it. Meaning you're going to taint the way they view Diddy the whole time, that he was innocent, potentially, of this car bombing, which I don't think he fucking was, but that he got out of it, and therefore it's up to them to make sure he sees justice on that. And look, as much as it's obvious that Diddy probably did it, in the event that he didn't do it, you can't have that speculated on in court. Now, obviously, they didn't get a mistrial, but it was worth a try. Next on the stand was Mia, who, it's not a real name, but she worked for Diddy. She said that working for Diddy could be exciting, it could be toxic, it could be chaotic. Some of the bad things he did to her was he threw things at me, he threw me against the wall, he threw me in a pool, he threw some things at my head. One of the things he threw at her head was spaghetti, which... just fucking weird. And apparently, he also sexually assaulted her. Now, Mia became very good friends with Cassie, and she would witness the violence on Cassie. She said he beat her black and blue, basically. It was fucking horrendous to listen to. And this is the thing where, despite my issues with this case, there is no issue with the fact that Diddy should be in jail for brutalizing Cassie. And this girl said it all. I mean, he bashed her head against the corner of her bed, I think, and her head was bleeding. And you're like, fuck me, man. Like, Diddy is such a fucking coward for doing this to a woman. Because, you know, like, the guy, when it comes to fighting a grown man, he's a fucking pussy. If he does go to jail, I hope that the men in there fucking sort him right out. Now, when it comes to the assaults that Mia said she suffered from Diddy, they varied a little bit. One of them occurred on his 40th birthday. Apparently, he was giving her shots of vodka, he was kissing her, and then he put his hand up her dress. Another time was in Diddy's home, where she was in a bunk bed and woke up in the middle of the night with Diddy on top of her. And another time, apparently in his house, he came out of his closet with his dick out and forced her to perform oral sex. She said it happened more times than that, but she just couldn't remember all of the details of the other occasions. They asked her, did you ever call the police? She said no. They said, why not? She said, I believe Diddy's authority was above the police. It's a tricky one, that, right? Because I know he was powerful, and I get, you know, and there's a level of brainwashing people are saying that everyone was victim of in this scenario. But to say he was more powerful than the police force, I don't know, like, it just doesn't make any logical sense to me. That doesn't mean she's lying. I just don't understand why she's saying that. They ask her, did you ever say no to Diddy? I couldn't even tell him no about a sandwich or anything. Then he would know that I thought what he was doing was wrong. So she never said no. Now, that could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, right? Should she have said no if you didn't want to do it? Yeah. Could she have frozen in that moment? Yeah, she could have done. Absolutely. They say, why didn't you go to the police about Mr. Combs sexually harassing you? I didn't even consider it. And what's weird is she sued Diddy for $10 million before the Cassie thing came out, and she never mentioned a word of the sexual assault or any of it. She just mentioned like the working issues that she had with him. She never mentioned it. Like, if you're taking someone to court and you're trying to get all that cash out of them, why wouldn't you have mentioned it then? And it does beg the question, did she only think of this up in her head after she heard all the shit that Cassie said? Bearing in mind, again, that these, you know, victims, if Diddy is found guilty, will get a payout from this when the government take all of his cash off of him. And when she started talking to the government about what happened to her, she didn't tell them about any sexual assault for 7 months after she started talking to the government about what happened. It's just weird. They then pull up photographs that she'd posted on her social media years after this allegedly had taken place, where she's posting pictures of Diddy saying, thank you for being my friend, hashtag happy birthday Diddy, hashtag I'm so hot I'm throwing panties at myself. And she posted pictures of Diddy shirtless in 2 of the photographs. And I guess the point that the defense are trying to make is, it's a bit weird if this guy did all that fucked up shit to you, that you're celebrating him on your social media like that years later. So they ask her, you know, you're posting pictures of someone who ruined your life, and she goes, and my boss. They ask, who made you post this? No one. How do you forget about waking up with the man on top, having his way with you? I was in fear of upsetting him. The moment other than that, we were best friends. Then they ask, how are you best friends with a man who you say assaulted you? Her reply was, ask my therapist. Bit of a cop-out, that, innit? Ask my therapist. Like, you're on the fucking stand, mate, not your therapist. Do you know what I mean? We're saying, how is this possible? It's not making sense to us here. You're literally bigging him up at every opportunity online. They ask her, why didn't you just quit? I didn't say it that way. Why? There's a pretty long psychological explanation. I wasn't there, but I've read some reports on the people who were watching this testimony, and it wasn't the best. You know, it didn't come across as the most convincing, and you can see why. Now, weirdly, the girl made him a scrapbook as a gift from his entire life, all of the news articles about him from 1991 to the present day. She said, that was nice of me, and they're asking, you gave it to him. What did you write at the top? Puff, sometimes life goes by at a catastrophic speed. I hope on this day you can sit back and consider. And what they're driving at here is that if he is this monster who ruined your life, why are you doing so many fucking nice things for him and calling him a legend on your social media? And then came the birthday message she made for Diddy, which we actually have the link for.
Puff Daddy, the living legend himself, you have not only revolutionized the game, but the entire world. I'm so blessed to call you my friend. Thank you for truly being one of the biggest inspirations in my life. To another 44 years of brilliance, let's fuck shit up. I love you. Happy birthday.
Along with this, we've got more messages from her that occurred after the alleged sexual assault. First one, Merry Christmas, I love you. Second one's interesting. I had a nightmare. I was being chased by R. Kelly and you saved me. It's the fact that Diddy is accused of sort of similar things to R. Kelly, and yet she's calling him the knight in shining armor here. It's bizarre. Sending you all the love in the world. My heart is broken about Dre. I love you. We had so many funny memories. Oh my God. And remember, this girl was supposedly great friends with Cassie. So they use that against her and they stick it on her and they say, was Cassie in love with Diddy? I thought so. Did you ever tell her the person she loved sexually attacked you? No. And then they ask her why she allowed her best friend to continue loving Diddy if Diddy had done those things to her. And what's really interesting is that Diddy said he was going to tell Cassie what had happened between them, who threatened to tell Cassie about Diddy supposedly sexually assaulting you, and it was Diddy. Why would Diddy say to Mia, I'm going to tell your best friend, who's my lass, what happened between us if it was non-consensual? Is it because it was consensual and he was using it to get back at her or something like that? Who the fuck knows, right? It's really fucked up, this. But what they are creating, the defense here, is doubting everything that this girl is saying. And they ask her, until 2024, you never told anyone about this, did you? And she said, apart from my therapist, that's true. They said, would you waive that privilege that you have, that confidentiality between you and your therapist? We'll get your therapist up here and we'll see if you're telling the truth. And they object to that. But the fact that they planted that seed in the jury's mind of, she's probably lying, in their own way, they tried to say she's lying here. It was a good move from the defense. It certainly put a lot of doubt into everything that she'd been saying. And the fact that she didn't tell anyone and she never even mentioned it so late. And that even when she was talking to the police, she didn't tell her for ages. Even when she sued Diddy, she never mentioned it, man. It's bizarre. And apparently one female juror was seen smiling, seemingly enjoying the defense attorney Brian Steele's cross-examination of Mia. Sometimes the juror widened her eyes and furrowed her brow, appearing skeptical of some of Mia's testimony. And let's be honest, if one juror is having that reaction, there's guaranteed to be a few more. And that girl settled for about 400 grand in her $10 million lawsuit where she never mentioned anything sexual occurred. So she's only brought this up now. And like I said at the start of the video, right, I'm becoming more and more skeptical of this case the longer it goes on. If this was all being done by another guy who didn't have the hundreds and hundreds of millions in the bank that the government could then seize, would they be treating him the same way, saying that this is a big mafia-style RICO case? I doubt it, to be honest. I think Diddy's a piece of shit. He deserves to go to jail for beating up Cassie. But the rest of this, I think there's a lot of doubt in a lot of the rest of it, to be honest with you. And do I give a shit that he got a couple of employees to pick some drugs up, or that he ordered some prostitutes and they happened to cross state lines? I don't give a shit. But he does deserve jail. I just think that what he's looking at in the 25 to life and losing his whole entire fortune, fuck me. It's mental. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I've let this build up for a while, so I really had a lot to say to you lot. And I do love hearing your opinions. Am I wrong about anything? I'm always open to being wrong. I really appreciate the feedback. Hit the like button and subscribe for more on the True Geordie YouTube channel. I'll see you on the next one.